What? Wait, what?
Hold on, I'm busy.
Oh, you're playing a game. I see.
I got my priorities straight here, buddy.
Yeah, you getting a high score? Is that what's happening here?
I got a high score of 400 points. Ooh, a mushroom. What's that going to do? I'm going to trip balls? Oh, wait, no. Oh, it just makes me big.
I tell you what. I love it.
Yeah, man.
We need some 8-bit intro music. That's
a little retro gaming.
It's very
fun,
very fitting for this week's Weeks In, which, as you know, everyone, this is we're striving for this to be your leading source of useless knowledge about everything that's geeky in the universe, in our galaxy, and beyond.
Yeah, and you know what's really convenient, if you really think about the structure, what is this, our 61st show?
61st, yeah.
61st show is really, if you don't have time or interest in watching the show, all you really have to do is go back and scroll through either one of our Twitter feeds, and you've got it all anyway. Because that's pretty much where we pull everything from.
We're pretty much building the agenda from what do we retweet or what do we like.
But that's what we've always done.
As you do.
That's fine.
And that's okay. So Graham, this is a special. This is 61, and
this is 61.
60 last week was a big milestone. But we decided we'd have a lunchtime episode, a lunch break episode. And what are you having for lunch? Have you had lunch, or what are you having?
I did have some lunch. I had some fruit and beans, a little bit of meat and cheese, because I'm trying to shed weight and it's not going well. And
okay,
walking 3.5 miles a day, but.
My
body's like, that's cool, bro, but more ice cream.
I decided I was gonna have eggs.
That looks tasty.
Eggs for lunch. And
that's very nice. I wouldn't worry. They seem fine.
They seem fine. They seem totally fine. Totally fine. Nothing to worry. Well, I also have. So I completed the Mega Bloks Black Series Alien Queen, which is totally awesome. So anyhow, that was my that was just an extremely lame gag for me to set that up. Yes, let's get right into the show.
So true.
We are searching for a saber, my friend. So tell me what happened here and why this is all of a sudden a thing with you.
Okay, so this is so nerdy. Oh, but so true. I had a dream.
You had a dream?
Earlier in the week,
dream? Okay.
Like, yes, that I had a lightsaber. And what was really funny is in the dream, it wasn't like I had a Star Wars dream and I had a functioning lightsaber and I was, fighting a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It wasn't that. Literally, it was like the prop toy. Right. And my son reminded me that a couple of years ago, we went to a Halloween party and a guy had one, and what I didn't know was that they make them where they're like indestructible, like you can actually kind of fight with them, like literally you can smash things and they won't break. And they do this thing called flash on crash where they like light up for a second and they have the sound effects and they're really bright, and some of them have really beautiful hilts like that one you just showed. And like, that's awesome. Look at that. I mean, tell me that's not super cool, right? So
totally.
I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I want one. So I actually found a site earlier this week that had them. It was like a 2-for-1 deal, and they were really, really nice. Not as nice as this thing's like $500. But I showed my son, and he was like, "Dad, he's like, I'd love to have one. I've always wanted one." And I was like, "All right, cool." And so I tried to order one, but it turned out this company was like super sketchy, and in some Central European country where my bank was like, no. So I have sort of given up. So Weeksenders, if you're watching and you know anything about, like, I can go on Amazon, I can start Googling, but the problem is I don't really know what to look for. And I don't know. I know to look for certain materials and flash on crash and, certain things, but like, I don't know if there's like a name brand. Exactly. Like what if you're going to buy a lightsaber, what's the best, right? Because I'm thinking this could make a really cool Christmas gift. Holiday gift for my son. And look, I mean, if I just happen to order two, then I guess I get one too. I mean, it would just be coincidental. And then we could do some really cool photo shoots and stuff with it. So, week senders, if you know anything about them, let me know. Ryan, what do you? Do you know anything? You got any useful knowledge? You got
Well,
nothing.
I know something. I know something
Oh,
here.
I
I know
knew
something.
it. I
So for
knew it.
me, this is me with I have a few lightsabers. Nothing like what you're talking about, but I've been obsessed with lightsabers since a young age. I know we talked about it on the show before, but I want to reiterate. Like my first lightsaber was one of those toys that like you literally inflated the blade, and it was
Oh
like
yeah,
it was like literally a flashlight, nothing more than a flashlight that
sure.
shone through
Yeah,
the
man.
inflatable blade. But as soon as you
We
like
had
whack
our
somebody, right, we had
imaginations.
our imagination, but as soon as you whack your sister like three times over the head, you broke it. So it was like a, those there was a lot of toy disappointment in the '80s, folks.
Well,
But
we had one that the kids had when they were younger, where it was like plastic that like went like pop, 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 and it like opened up, and it had
yep,
like Yoda's voice, but it was super cheesy.
oh
I'm
yeah,
I'm not talking cheesy. I'm talking. I got two words for you, buddy.
yep,
Prop quality.
prop quality. I think you're right. So I
That's
also
what I'm looking
have
for.
just little gizmos around the man cave here. I also my so it I don't know if it will survive an actual fight, but I have the umbrella which you saw when we
Hmm.
traveled last,
Oh yeah.
lightsaber umbrella, which has like you can change the LED color of the shaft of the of the umbrella, but it's a little bit wonky, right? Because it's an umbrella, but it's still cool.
It's still super. That's super cool. But that's not meant like that's first of all. I know you know this, and to anybody watching, that's more Blade Runner than Star Wars, right? So it's not really combat; it's more fashion and design of the future, right? Which is super cool, sort of retro futuristic.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm definitely looking for something that I can display and smash things. So week senders, if you've got recommendations, let us know. What's next?
yeah. Speaking of, oh, I
Nah,
know
yeah.
you're what we refer to, back in the '80s and '90s as a sneaker pimp. I'm not sure what the current
No,
jargon is, but
sneakerhead. Sneakerhead is the current
sneakerhead.
term. I am a bit of a sneakerhead.
Okay, you're a
Um,
sneakerhead, but tell me what the heck we're looking at here. It looks like Reebok.
So yeah, Reebok's putting out a line of Ghostbusters themed sneakers, obviously to celebrate Ghostbusters Afterlife, which you can tell because the little mini Stay Puft guys are there. Um, I think it's really cool when companies do stuff like this, especially when it's like limited edition and they can be kind of hard to get.
Yeah.
These look sort of cool. They're not
Mhm.
what I want. I'll tell you what I really want. For any of you Wes Anderson fans, what I really would love is a pair of Team Zissou Adidas,
Oh,
which there is a store in the UK that sells them, and they have like different levels, but they really are. They look exactly like the Team Zissou Adidas shoes from the Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, and man, but I would love to have the whole like Life Aquatic uniform tracksuit. Like, yes, I would 100% wear that in public.
yeah. Well,
And I
what I've
don't
been
and
on
I
the
don't
search for.
care. Like I don't care. I
So
just
for
would.
me, I love all the collaborations that Adidas does. They've done all kinds of manner of films, like what you're mentioning, but they've done quite a number of collaborations with Star Wars as well. But they've I don't want to put down the collaboration, but they always look very juvenile, even the adult shoes. And so like they even have like a new version of
Well,
a
that's what I'm saying
collaboration
about
for,
the Ghostbusters
yeah,
ones. Like the Team Zissou ones, like first of all, you'd have to know what you're looking at to know what they are.
right,
So you'd have to know the movie. People would be like, "Holy shit, are those Team Zissou?" Like that's I mean it says Zissou on the side, but it's like this
right,
big. So that's cool. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like when you look at the Ghostbusters ones you just had on the screen, they look like they're made for they are cool. I'm not saying they're not, but they look like they're made for kids. Like
yeah,
children. What I if they were going to design a Ghostbuster shoe, what they should do is have it be red and white with that same uh sole that they showed in the one you just showed, but without the
right,
like Stay Puft design. Like
yep,
like all the thing I liked about the Team Zissou ones is they look like uniform. See what I mean? Like have that same bottom and have red and white, and maybe it's got like streams on the side, or just make it look like if they were going to make. Well, I suppose if they were going to wear something with uniforms, they'd wear boots or something, right? Because they were always
right,
slogging through slime. But I don't know. These are cool, but they are childlike.
yeah, yeah. I agree, and I think it'd be cooler if it was more like Like, yes, something that's a little more subtle.
Yeah.
There's other collaborations that I can think of that are not like sports shoes that have attempted that with better success for like
if I go
for
like
folks like
this,
us.
it looks like those solar panels are sticking off my head.
Oh,
Anyway,
nice. Oh, you are solar powered, my friend, right?
I
Vitamin
am.
D.
I am. That's why this window has
Let's
to
talk
be open
about
all the time.
retro gaming for a moment.
Yes.
So there's a
Never
couple of
ceases to
stories.
amaze me what people do with their pies, man. Tell me all about
So
this.
there's a couple of stories with Raspberry Pi this week. I wanted to start out actually with the first story is giving a shout out to our friend Andy Piper, who lives in the UK. He's a dev advocate for Twitter in the UK, but he does a podcast on the side with one of our fellow coworkers, Michael Rowe, where they do talk about gaming quite often, and it looks like this is a new handheld that he got delivered this week, and I was just like nerding out because look at this is like tiny gaming. It looks like it has a dev system built into it, but it's on a Raspberry Pi board, and it's from a company in the UK called Scorpion Games. What do you think of this?
Does this? So first of all, I think the packaging and the design of it, I think, is beautiful. Even with that tiny 240 by 240 screen, it doesn't matter to me. I just think it's cool, and I love the fact that it's tiny gaming dev handheld. Right. So my question for you is, does it come with the Pi built in? I guess it does, right? Because it says RP2040. So I'm assuming that means it's got the Raspberry Pi in it.
Yeah.
I love that, Super Square Brothers. Or does that mean that you have to add the Pi?
That's a good question.
Is it a platform for it, or does it come with it?
Yeah, I think we don't know the answer, but we'll find out. I was even thinking we should have Andy and Michael on the show to talk retro gaming, but it looks the thickness of this. So it's got an aluminum face.
Oh, no. It says arrive charged and immediately playable.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it is like a retro, the retro Pis that come like a console so you can get something called a retro Pi that looks like a little mini NES system that's got a Pi built into it with ports and everything. So this is similar, but he was saying like it feels really nice and it's got a nice weight to it. It's made out of aluminum.
I love
you know how these things are when it really the tactile feel, the responsiveness, like getting that right is really what makes or breaks these things beyond just the
kind of like this one,
the aesthetic, right? It needs to feel like the same. The directional controller, the buttons, and those things were frustrating when you would play things on the original systems.
I like this Atari one.
Yeah, they were frustrating, but that's part of the experience of the game being difficult, I think.
Yes, I would agree with that.
So
I got a whole bunch of these retro.
I wanted to also talk about this. I wanted you to tell me about this one because I was just like gobsmacked by this photo.
I was too.
Oh my gosh.
I was too. Now, this is first of all, full disclosure, this is a custom build. This is not something you can buy. This is something somebody made. And I believe this is also a Raspberry Pi powered joystick or connects to a Pi or something like that. But now look, I understand it's going to get fingerprints all over it and palm prints all over, but I don't care. This thing is so gorgeous. But here's my point that I think we lose a lot in electronics is the aesthetic, right? So I love the lights. I love the fact that it has the light up lights. I love the shape and look of that joystick. I also love how it's got the little bolts around it. Right, like the bolts aren't hidden. If you look, the bolts are right on top. Not bolts, the hex screws or whatever they're called. Right on top. The buttons look like you just want to. And so I love the look of this, and I just wish that we had, I wish computers used more LEDs. Cars are starting to use more LEDs. I just think that there's kind of a mood lighting, functional lighting. Awesomeness factor that can really be achieved with some of these devices
without a doubt.
And in that one they did it, and so I just thought that's the kind of thing that not only do you love to use it, you love to display it and show it off, and I just think that thing is gorgeous.
Well, and that's half of it, right? Well, when you do homebrew, a lot of this is like homebrew gaming, really. And that's something I want to get into on a future show, maybe with, I think Andy and Michael could definitely talk about that aspect of like, I think that handheld that Andy got is, yes, it comes preloaded, but I think it's a dev platform too. So that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
All right. Space. All right. So we always have to have a segment on space. And
Of
this
course.
week, or this past week was kind of a big deal in the space world. Sputnik
Yes.
kind of kicked us off back in '57. So we have 64 years ago, right? We talked about NASA's 63rd anniversary last week, and Sputnik launched and kind of changed the world on October 4th. There's a couple of interesting aspects about Sputnik I wanted you to comment on really quick, but IBM's involvement in tracking, I thought that was a really cool story that we were talking about on Slack this week, and then just the effect on the country in general.
Yeah, man, I just think that, I mean, the Russians achieved so many remarkable firsts in space, right? Which, people tend to think of this, Yuri Gagarin, and then like the moon. And they don't understand that there were so many other things that were achieved. And the Russians achieved a lot of them. And Sputnik was a remarkably simple, sort of beautiful little piece of technology, right? And just emitted a simple beep, which if you go to a Wikipedia page, you can actually hear the beep. And it's, I mean, it's just a beep, beep, beep. But the cool thing is sort of the ripple effect that something so small had. And, when you say, or on that page, it said it too, something around, ushering in this new era of the launch ushered in new political, military, technological, and scientific developments. That is almost an understatement. That is so true. So I always like to mark Sputnik's anniversary every year, and same for Yuri Gagarin, and same for Apollo, and there's lots of anniversaries, but those two are just so remarkable. But Sputnik really started it all, man. And that's another one of those things that, like, if I had a little more room and I wasn't in this tiny little home office that looks like a teenager's room, I would love to have like a basketball sized model of Sputnik like hanging from my ceiling. And I don't know, I've always thought it was a remarkable moment in human history.
It really is. And
I'm a Sputnik fan. For my money, it doesn't get better than that beeping sound. I celebrate Sputnik's entire catalog.
Nice. So I just wanted to mention too this story about how like IBM was tapped to spin up, I believe it was a 704 computer, right?
I don't remember. I could look.
I believe so.
I think you're right.
They were, there was like this mad rush to try to even just track the orbital trajectory of Sputnik. It was like they like within less than 12 hours, 24 hours, they were trying to, really figure out what was going on.
It was almost a panic.
Right.
It actually scared the hell out of a lot of people. It wasn't initially hailed as this technological achievement. It was hailed as like, oh no, not only have we not achieved this, but like now are they going to rain bombs on? I mean, it was like sort of this paranoia. Yeah, what's it doing up there? And I mean, it was just a simple radio transmitter to prove the ability to put something in orbit. Like that's it. Yeah. But everybody went crazy. So yeah, they started spinning up systems to track it, determine its orbit, determine when it was going to come down, where it was going to come down, all those kinds of things.
Speaking of first, I mean
space. And speaking of Russian,
so Russia has the honor of many of these firsts, right? So they've got a whole catalog of firsts. Now they can add first feature film produced in space because they just like unveiled their plans for sending a cosmonaut and a Russian actress to the ISS to film what appears to be the first movie in space, which is
super cool. And I'm sure that's going to look great. And I'm sure, I mean, that's another one of those things where it's like, oh, cool, they brought some people up and some cameras. Right now, I understand that there are people who are just like, what the hell's going on in space? We're sending up actresses and billionaires and William Shatner and like, what this is not what space exploration, advancement, and innovation is supposed to be. And that is a very fair opinion, and I share it. However, don't underestimate the fact that this is a pretty cool technological advancement. And let's not kid ourselves here, because there was talk at one point about Tom Cruise doing this. And I
Yeah, I
think we
heard
can
about
all
that.
agree, Ryan, that if Tom Cruise did it, all of a sudden we'd be like,
Look,
oh my God, it's
I'd be all
amazing.
about it. I mean,
I'd be all about it too. So I think it's really cool that they're doing this. You were talking that before we hit the go button on today's broadcast, you were reading the plot to it, and it sounds cool. I mean, you know what, man? I'll watch it.
yeah. Well, I
Because
mean,
we know from the movies that Hollywood can do this and make it look right, but like no, there's a difference between like when they did some of the scenes for Apollo 13 and they did it in the Vomit Comet, right? They did it in a plane that does the parabolic dives. And
sure.
so when they show them in zero gravity in some of the scenes in Apollo 13, they are actually in zero gravity, but they're not in space. They're just doing parabolic dives. Whereas in The Martian, when they show them, that's all fake. There was no there's no zero gravity like in the scenes where Jessica Chastain, for example, is going around the spaceship. That was all fake. But knowing that they really did this and and is really up there, and the technology, I mean, it's hard to hold a camera steady on Earth. Try doing
Right.
that in
Well, I
zero
mean,
G.
that's why
I'm
I'm so
excited to see it.
interested in this,
I'm
because
excited to see it.
we've had, with the advancement of CG and with all of the VFX that goes into films now, a lot, so much of it is just being faked, and
Yeah.
you can kind of tell when stuff is real or not. And so I'm really interested of the aesthetic of just like what's it
Yeah.
going to be. I can imagine it's got to be like claustrophobic, because the plot of this
Yeah.
film is meant to be that they're sending an astronaut up, or a surgeon up, to perform some kind of emergency surgery on an astronaut, which I assume they can't be moved or they can't be rescued, or it's emergency situation. So it's feasible. It sounds real, and you're going to have it in that real environment, which I'm just excited to see. Like, how's that gonna look and feel, and really play out like.
Yeah. I agree. I gotta pull this fan out of the window and shut this window because it's leaf blower season.
And briefly,
Yeah.
this is
So
this
I'm
is
I'm
the
excited to see
actress
it.
that's going up with the. So it's going to be. So the ESA, it was were the ones that announced this, but it's with the Russian Space Agency, of course, and with one of Russia's major TV networks that's going to
It's Cosmo.
produce the
Yeah.
film.
No, really super cool. Super cool.
Let's transition and talk about two more subjects really fast.
Yes.
We have a question of the week, and then we have like a nice story. Let's talk about Bond really quick. I went to see Bond last night. I'm not going to reveal anything. I just want to say, I want to pose the question of, what does everybody think of Bond 25? This is the 25th film in the series. It's been long delayed because of the pandemic. It's Daniel Craig's last outing as the character, and it also, I don't think everybody realized this, but all of the films now all of the films are one story. And so this is putting a bow on that story, and it's really the end of an era without giving too much away, in a very
Okay.
literal way.
Well, I'm
So
planning on seeing it tomorrow, and I have not seen it, but I already have one major problem with it, which is there's not enough George Lazenby in it.
there you go.
I love George
Well, they
Lazenby.
did
He's my
invite him to the
favorite Bond.
premiere. Come on.
No, I know, and I
Um,
thought that was sweet. And he looks like my dad, but
on a future episode, let's
I'm really
talk about the
excited to see
film,
this.
and
Yeah, so
let's also
I'm
talk
going to see
about
it tomorrow, so we can
who do
talk about
you.
it
We
next week.
also want to know, like, who do you think the next Bond? That's a hot topic, obviously. Who should the next Bond be? There was a story which we're also going to talk about next week, a little bit more in depth when we talk about the film. Which I saw,
Womack.
there was a new Reddit thread where this guy that's been studying The Rock, which was released like, what was it, 25 years ago.
Yeah,
Um, is it a James Bond film? And so the premise, we'll put the link down in the notes. But the premise is that that was actually a James Bond film that was Sean Connery's sort of last outing as the character. And
I've honestly always looked at it. So when you
he
read
makes a
that
really
article,
compelling argument.
he makes a compelling argument, and when you watch the movie again, I heard that theory a long time ago, and I went and watched the film and was like, yep, that's totally what they were going for, and I thought it was very clever how they did it. When you read this guy's theory,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
much 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 stronger, and
Well,
it's
it's
almost like
interesting.
there's no
So
way it's not.
he interweaves a lot of like historical, like real world timing along with the film series. It's just it's amazing. So some of it I'm sure is circumstantial, but he makes a compelling case. So check it
Yeah,
out. We'll put the link down in the notes. Um,
check it out, yo.
check it out, y'all. So
Oh,
that is our show. We talked about space. We talked
oh,
about lightsabers. We
oh,
talked about
oh.
all kinds of things.
Satellites.
Lots of
Um,
stuff. Lots of stuff. So closing remarks, Graham. What do you? How are we already a week into October? What do you have? You got like a Halloween costume picked out or anything yet?
Yeah, I'm going to be a variant Graham. So I've got
that's
the whole outfit that Loki wore when he went to the TVA. Now I'm talking about the shirt, the tie, the jacket, the green pants, like that Loki, not
nice
horned green gold Loki. So I'm excited about that. Now I'll probably just wear that to sort of answer the door and greet the kids. But what I definitely do want to do is at some point that day, I want to find a reason to go out in public and walk around with that on, because I need the attention. That's really just that simple.
As we do. I haven't decided where I'm going to be yet. I think I'm going to be out of town, so I'm trying to figure out like what's a good couple outfit. So if you have ideas out there in the world internets, let me know what my wife and I can team up and do. That's our show, folks. Thanks for watching Weeks In.
Yes.
And remember, there's no place like home.
they're oh, very clever. You're so clever. Okay, bye everybody.
All right, see you everybody. We'll see you next week on Weeks In.